So that's poor nutrition and synthetics in food. So here we have like the mineral status of a healthy human being, of a healthy animal, any living organism. They need a mineral status optimum 100% to be healthy. As soon as the mineral status goes down, you get immunity problems, and you get asthmas, and then you get growth and fertility problems, and clinical signs, cancers, heart diseases, the whole works. So on this slippery slope, we are sliding down. And then like the important part is, like if we are here when we are born, like grandparents were there when they were born, and then we are here, if at this point we conceive a child, then the child starts at this level. And the child, so it can only go down. And that's why Marika was talking about preconception cleansing this morning, because then if the parent is here, then with the 5 months preconception cleansing, the body can be operating here, and then the child is conceived. So the child then starts there, and the parents, as soon as they stop eating that way, they slide down again to this point. Because that's the whole addiction of our body. Our bodies are so addictive to habits that we always go back to the level that the body knows it can be at the low point that is. So it can't crawl upwards. And that's now that whole science, that's not what we now call epigenetics. Because that epigenetics explains the generational impact of issues. Because each generation influences the next generation. So that's the DNA, the language of life, where in every cell we have the DNA. And then of course the science was saying, oh, when we know your DNA, we know what diseases you can have. But what do the genes really tell us? The DNA doesn't tell us how it works. It can have like what could happen, but not what will happen. Because genes are switching on and off all the time to adapt. And that's the epigenetics. The genes adapt themselves to their surrounding. So if a gene switches off, and a child starts with that switched off gene, then the child has that problem right from the start. Because there's crosstalk between the environment and the genes, the G by E. And like on the farms, of course, we often hear the agronomists talk about G by E to get a new variety, and that has to be suited to your own conditions, etc. But in my lifetime of research, I then found in the 90s that the M of management was far more important than the G, the G by E, the environment. It's the management. With the management, we can change the gene expression. Very important. And that's what, of course, what we do with biological farming. We can get the same varieties from the current farming, in market gardening, pastures, crops. We use the same varieties, but we change the soil, we make a healthy soil, and those varieties become resistant to diseases. While the neighbor still has to spray 3 or 4 times in a bad year, on the biological healthy soil you don't have to spray because you create the resistance, internal resistance. So the genes adapt themselves to the surrounding. And this is a good example, like you see in the middle, the queen bee, very big, like queen bee, half as big as the workers. The queen bee has exactly the same DNA as the workers. Exactly the same DNA. But the working genes are different. How? The workers started to feed a larvae with special food. Every day, special food to one larvae. And that larvae became the queen bee. So special food made a completely different expression of the same genes. Not only physical, but also mentally. Because the queen bee is the ruler. The queen bee is not like working all the time, it's guiding the flock. So that's how important special food can be to both change the physical appearance and the mental state. That's what gene expression is with food.